doing, everybody? And welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Wednesday. It is a fantastic Wednesday, a great Wednesday, as they would say, a hump day. They call it hump day around these places. So, fantastic Wednesday here in the great state of Wisconsin. Lots to talk about today. Bucks, we got to talk about the Bucks today. Bucks on a 6-game win streak here. We're going to dissect what happened in that Clippers game, and also just how we're feeling about this Milwaukee Bucks team right now. Also looking at the Brewers a little bit today, and then I got a little bit more Badger talk I want to get into here. They got a game coming up with Rutgers later this week. I want to get into the Badgers a little bit more here. So right away, I want to look at the Bucks here, and the Bucks, 6 straight wins coming out of the All-Star break here, and it has been fantastic. The defense for this Bucks team has played phenomenal. I mean, they're holding opponents right now to low hundreds, 90 plus as of late here. So it's been fantastic what we're seeing out of this Bucks defense right now. Offensively, yeah, if you want to dissect the Bucks and say there's one thing wrong in Milwaukee right now, you could definitely aim towards this offense for the Bucks right now. Yes, they aren't scoring at a high clip. Not what you're used to seeing throughout the league right now. But I got to say, right now, this Milwaukee Bucks team, I believe, is playing some of their best basketball that we have seen all season long here, and it is great. It is fantastic what we are seeing right now in Milwaukee. Looking at this last game, going with the Clippers here, the Bucks, I mean, trailed late in this one and then put a fantastic run on late in this one. I believe they were down by 13 at least at one point in this game, came all the way back, took the lead there late, and a lot of guys factored into this win for Milwaukee. A 113-106 win for the Bucks. End of the first quarter there, I mean, Bucks were trailing by 10 to end that first quarter. They did outscore the Clippers in that second quarter there, 23-20. And then in that fourth quarter, 40 points for the Milwaukee Bucks. All the way around, impressive fourth quarter there for the Bucks. Looking at the defense for Milwaukee in that one, Kawhi Leonard only 16 points in this game here. James Harden had 29 and 29 for Paul George. But holding Kawhi down, Zubac wasn't able to get anything going on the interior for him. And Terrence Mann, he had 4 points for this Clippers team. A lot of people like to say this Clippers team can't close out games. And well, we saw it here firsthand with the Milwaukee Bucks. They could not close out the Bucks late in this one. Bucks, I mean, don't take anything away from Milwaukee. They played great there down the stretch. Looking at a couple of key guys that I saw in this one, I thought the play of AJ Green was fantastic late in this ball game. Only 6 points, not like he was going off crazy, but a couple of big threes for AJ Green when the Bucks were putting that run on late in this ball game. And then 1-2, it was kind of the dagger shot for the Bucks from AJ Green there deep in front there for Green. He was 2 for 4 on the game shooting the basketball, had 3 assists, 2 rebounds in this game, only 1 turnover, 6 points. I thought his bench play was great. And then Bobby Portis off the bench for the Bucks. He was, I mean, the cog that made the engine run late in this one here. 28 points, 16 rebounds. He had 15 on the defensive end there. 2 for 3 from downtown and 12 for 18 from the floor. Bobby was a force coming off the bench there for the Bucks. Played 30 minutes. AJ Green played 22 minutes for this Bucks team. We didn't see Jay Crowder in that second half. 18 minutes in total for him. 1 for 3 from downtown. He had a 3 early in this game, and that was it. That was the night for Jay Crowder. Beasley, he also only had 5 points for this Bucks team, 1 for 7 from downtown. Beasley's been getting cold, but it's great to see some other guys stepping up for this Bucks team. Damian Lillard, a phenomenal performance for him, 41 points there, 12 for 22 from the floor. He was 4 for 9 from deep and 13 for 13 from the free throw line. Pat Bev started for this Bucks team. It was a late scratch. We thought Connaughton was starting, and then all of a sudden Pat Bev was in there. Bev went for 12 in this one. He had 4 steals. He had 2 assists in this one, 9 rebounds, and he was 3 for 7 from downtown here, 4 for 10 from the field. I thought the play of Pat Bev was great. You know, he's not going to score you a lot of buckets, but he was up in the grill. He was getting after these Clippers guys. I mean, after the game, he had choice words in his press conference, but what Pat Bev brings to this team is, I mean, it's the little things that you don't see that show up in the stat book, right? That's the little things with Pat Bev that I think he brings to Milwaukee, a toughness that I think the Bucks were lacking in the first half of the season here. Brook Lopez only 6 points in this one. A struggle, 1 for 2 from downtown. He was 3 for 6 from the line. Not a bad day for Brook, but he's had some struggles here in this season. And, it's hard to take much out of this game that you didn't like for the Bucks, especially because they came out with a win, right? But there's got to be the little things, right? And Brook Lopez has struggled here. He struggled in this game. Beasley struggled as of late, and Jay Crowder just hasn't been scoring for this Bucks team this season. So, the welcome of Chris Middleton back to this lineup, that's going to be huge. That'll be huge for the Bucks. And then also, not just Chris Middleton, but the Bucks won this game against Clippers without Giannis. That was huge. You think Giannis, he plays in this game, you're going to have a good 20 points out of Giannis to go along with it. I just wish that Dame wouldn't play so hesitant, and so I got to share the basketball. You want guys to share the basketball. That's not what I'm trying to say. But Dame becomes a different player when he has to be the guy, when he's the only guy, right? And when Giannis is out there, Dame kind of gets hesitant with his game, and that's something that I think going forward, I want to see more moments where, yeah, Giannis is out on the floor with Dame, but I want to see Dame take over the game. He has that ability, like in this one, 41 points. He has the ability to take over a game. That's the thing is, don't be afraid to take over the game just because Giannis is in there. I want to see Giannis and Dame both playing at high velocity going forward here, and I think this Bucks team will be crazy good. I don't know, are they Boston Celtics good yet? I don't know about that one, but I can tell you one thing. This Bucks team, without Giannis, played fantastic. With Giannis, they've been playing fantastic, and this is all without Chris Middleton. So there's a lot of things that this Bucks team can still improve on before we do see Giannis Antetokounmpo come back into this starting lineup for the Bucks. And well, I imagine Giannis will be back here within the coming days, and then get Chris Middleton back here within the next couple of weeks. I love it. I love what I'm seeing in Milwaukee right now. So, I just wanted to ask out there to people and see kind of what the feeling was, and I got a few answers on how people feel about this Bucks team right now. And one reply was, I think the W is great, and 6 in a row is great. Don't get ahead of each game. Learn and play as a team and get better one game at a time. Can't agree more. I think, ever since Doc came in, this Bucks team has been learning. They've been trying to get with his philosophy, learn on the fly here. And I really do think you learn game by game. And they learned a lot before the All-Star break. And I think we're seeing it coming out of the All-Star break. They had, it's self-explanatory. They had that break during that All-Star break where they're kind of able to regroup. They were able to get at it. I think we're seeing it all full-fledged now in the second half of the year. So here in the second half of this year. So fantastic. I love that comment right there. Also another one mentioning just Chris Middleton. If they can get Chris back by their next home games, they could get the 1 seed. They're not out of the 1 seed. Boston's been playing pretty darn good as of late here, but yeah, I completely agree. They're not out of the race for the 1 seed. Right now with this Bucks team, I am not, if they get a 2 seed, they get a 2 seed. If they get to 2, that's fine with me. If they get to 3, I don't want to see the Celtics early on in the playoffs, so I'd avoid that 4 area, but I'm all in. If the Bucks are able to get that 2 seed, that's not a bad way to shake it there. Anyways, but yeah, I completely agree. It'd be great to see him get that 1 seed. Another comment, what's funny about that win is I bet more than half gave up on them. Yeah, I don't know if anybody actually gave up on the Bucks. I think they just kind of came to that realization of saying, I don't know if Milwaukee is good enough to win in the East right now. And I think there's a lot of teams in the East that can beat them. That's where I think a lot of people got to the point of, it wasn't where they gave up on them. It just got to the point where it was like, this Bucks team isn't scary. They're not the top dog anymore. And I think that had more of a factor into it than anything else, was just the simple fact of people were looking at this Bucks team and saying, well, I don't know if they are the scariest team in the East, and I don't even know if they're top 2 in the East right now. I think that's where more people are leaning there. But I agree. A lot of people did write the Bucks off here early on in this year. And it's crazy to think because at one point they were 30 something and 12 at one point there. I mean, they weren't bad. They weren't bad by any stretch. They were still hanging around on the top with Adrian Griffin. It just, things weren't going right. It didn't seem right with this Milwaukee Bucks team. Also, I mean, I asked some of the ceiling and floor predictions there, and I had a response of the ceiling is a trip to the Eastern Conference Finals and a possible finals appearance. The floor is another blown 3-1 lead by Doc Rivers for an early exit. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, the ceiling for me for this Bucks team would be an Eastern Conference Finals matching up probably with the Celtics. And then, like you said, the floor would be first round, you play some crapola team, you play a low seed, and you just get knocked out. And the worst possible scenario is the Bucks face the Pacers or the Heat. I mean, the Heat or the Pacers, one of those two will be scary to Milwaukee because they seem to always, Spoelstra knows how to beat Milwaukee. It doesn't matter. So, I mean, it's definitely going to be one of those, yeah, I agree. Ceiling, Eastern Conference finals appearance, and the floor, definitely drop it in that first round once again. And Doc Rivers blowing a lead in the first round. Got another comment, one more here. Never was that low on the Bucks, as it was always about sacrificing the regular season for the best end result in the playoffs. It's just positive to see that they're on track at the end of that game. I agree with that. And you know, they do say it's a lot. The regular season's just, you know, if you're good enough, the regular season is just playing for the playoffs, right? You're just getting yourself prepared. And I really do think at one point here, the Bucks were so far off track, I don't think they were actually getting themselves ready for that regular season or for the postseason there. And I think now this Bucks team seems to be ready and they're getting on the right track. And that's, like you said there, they're getting on the right track heading towards right now, the gauntlet of the schedule where they go out west and they face a lot of really good teams. But then getting towards the end of the year, just getting yourself right. And when Chris Middleton comes back, implementing him back in and just watching this team get into the playoffs and see what they can do. I completely agree with that right there. So Bucks, I mean, yeah, that's where I'm at right now with this Bucks team, is that right now this 6-0 start to the second half is fantastic. And I expect nothing but good things moving forward here, especially getting Giannis back into the lineup here healthy and then getting Chris Middleton back healthy. And hopefully he can stay healthy moving forward there. Some of the things that I've liked with this Bucks team, the defensive play so far here in the second half from Damian Lillard and Malik Beasley, I think that they've played fantastic defensively. You know, those guys right now, where they were to where they are now defensively, it's night and day. I mean, Damian Lillard's not a great defender. He never was. And I don't think he's still not a great defender, but he does enough. And I think that's same with Beasley, is that those guys are getting better defensively. It's not like they're lockdown defenders, but they play good enough to shut teams down or to shut opponents down and slow them down. And I think that is definitely an improvement right now to those two. Bobby Portis coming off the bench. He's getting hot, and that's huge. And I love what Bobby's doing off the bench right now. I really want to see some more minutes. I know a lot of people don't want to. They get kind of with AJ Green. They're like, you got to remember he's young. I get that. But I would be okay with seeing a little bit more out of AJ Green here moving forward. Defensively plays well enough. And on the offensive end, the guy can ring it up. I mean, he's a shooter. And if you get him out there, the guy can facilitate the basketball. He gets hot enough, guys are going to respect him. He's going to be able to help you with assists during the game there, help set up Giannis, help set up Dame, everything like that. It's going to add another weapon, and I really do think AJ Green moving forward will be a good weapon for this Bucks team. Gallinari, we haven't seen a lot out of Gallinari yet in this first little stretch here, so I'm thinking, you know, as the season goes on here, we're going to see a little bit more out of Gallinari, and it's going to be, I think he's going to blossom into a good player for this Bucks team down the stretch. I mean, other than that, extended role for Green off the bench, like I said, that's the guy that I think is going to be an X factor for the Bucks coming off the bench here. I don't like Pat Connaughton. I really don't. I'm not seeing a lot out of Pat right now. 8 points in this last game, but Pat Connaughton isn't doing a lot for this Bucks team. I could see AJ Green playing a more instrumental role for the Bucks moving forward. Saw a lot more of him here against the Clippers. Yes, that was because of no Giannis, and I mean Crowder gave him basically the second half off, and Beasley too. I mean, he played less minutes in this one, but I'd love to see AJ Green get some extended minutes here moving forward, especially, I mean, second half of games. He's going to be able to hit shots for you. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a little bit more out of AJ Green. But I just wanted to check the updated NBA standings here, see where everybody is sitting as of right now. And in the East right now, Boston still leads. They have an 8-game lead over the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks coming in second right now. They moved out of that 3 spot up to the 2 spot right now. 8 games back of the Celtics. Cleveland's right behind them, 9 games back. They've struggled as of late here, 5-5 in their last 10. The Knicks at 12.5 games back in the 4 spot. Then the 76ers, followed by the Magic, the Heat, the Pacers, the Bulls, and then the Hawks. I mean, Eastern Conference kind of squaring up to what we expected to see. I mean, minus, I would say, the Heat not being in that top 6. I kind of expected the Heat to be in the top 6. Other than that, 76ers, no Joel Embiid. They're starting to fall off just a little bit here, but they have won 2 straight here, and they're 5-5 in their last 10. I mean, nothing really crazy happening in the East. In the West right now, Timberwolves, Thunder, Nuggets lead the pack right now. Clippers, Pelicans, and the Suns. Kings, Mavs, Lakers, and Warriors to round out that 10 in the West right now. Timberwolves and Thunder have been controlling the top half there. The Nuggets climbing back, though. They're a half game back of first place right now. They're hanging around in there. So that is great to see there in the West, currently standing with the Timberwolves and Thunder up top there. Clippers dropped to 3 games back there after that loss to the Bucks. They're sitting in that 4 spot. So NBA, a lot of good things happen in the NBA right now. We're getting closer and closer to some playoff basketball there in the NBA. So fantastic stuff right there. I want to get to a couple of our sponsors here before we move on. First, your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy, Sue, or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. Also, Sports Scene in Marshfield, located in the Marshfield Mall. Stop in there and see Al at Sports Scene. He can help you get anything, sports cards, memorabilia, jerseys, model cars. They have it all there at Sports Scene in Marshfield. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville. With that, though, moving on here, a little bit of Brewer talk for the day here. Brewers they got trounced here against the Giants yesterday. Looking at that one, 13-8 final there. The Giants used a big third and fourth inning in this game, 10 runs between the third and fourth innings there to take commanding lead of this one. Brewers started out hot in this one. Adames had a triple to center. He scored Contreras. Bauer singled that scored Adames. Then Jackson Churro had a big double there, scored Bauer on an air there, and then Churro made it into the third there on an air. Terang had an RBI single there. Hoskins had a big home run early in this one. That put the Brewers up 5-0 heading into the bottom of that third inning, and that's when the bad stuff happened for the Brewers here. A lot of big hits for the Giants over the next couple of frames there, and that basically carried them throughout this one. Looking at the box a little bit more here, Sal Frelick 0 for on this one. Contreras had a 1 for 2 day. Adames with another 1 for 3 day for Adames there, 1 for 3 for Hoskins. Bowers went 1 for 3 in this one. Jackson Churro, a 3 for 3 day for Jackson Churro. That's great to see there out of Jackson Churro. Bryce Terang, a 1 for 3 day. Joey Ortiz 0 for on the day there. And Blake Perkins went 0 for on the day. But in big news right there, Wes Clark, this guy has been rolling for the Brewers here to start this young spring training season here. He had another home run in this one. Wes Clark has been lighting it up for the Brewers here early on. So great to see Wes Clark getting after it. I don't know. Maybe he's a potential guy to get into the Brewers starting. Probably off the. I mean, he's going to be a bench guy, but maybe Wes Clark is a guy to come off the bench for the Brewers here at some point. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. You know, spring's where you get some of the surprises, and so far for me, Wes Clark has been a surprise for this Brewers team. The guy so far on spring is batting .333 and 12 at-bats with 3 home runs and 4 RBIs. Everybody wants some thump in the lineup. Wes Clark's got some thump. And maybe he finds a spot on the Brewers bench there at some point this year. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. For the Brewers, pitching-wise, there wasn't a lot good. Jacob Junis started 2 innings, 5 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 strikeouts for Junis. Devin Williams, in a third of an inning, gave up 4 runs, 2 hits, 1 strikeout. And then Vieira gave up in an inning of work 3 hits and 2 earned runs, 2 strikeouts. And then Hobie Milner. There we go. Hobie Milner had a good outing for the Brewers. 1 inning, 1 hit, and 2 strikeouts. So out of all the guys, Hobie Milner had a good outing. Had to find one guy, right? Joe Ross, 2 innings of work for Joe Ross, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts. So everybody gave up a run except for Carlson and Milner. Those guys held it together for the Brewers there. So maybe we see a little bit more of those two moving forward here. Brewers did get to Logan Webb in this one, though. 3 1/3 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 6 strikeouts for Logan Webb. So Brewers got to him early in this one. That was great to see for the Brewers there. Other than that, for the Giants, Taylor and Tyler Rogers both pitched in this one. One inning apiece for both of them, 1 earned run for the combined duo there, and 2 strikeouts. Rodriguez, 1 inning, 1 earned run for the Giants in this one. Not a lot going on for the Brewers in that one. That was definitely a struggle fest pitching-wise for the Brewers. 13 runs given up by, some of the guys who you expect to make the starting role or bullpen role for the Brewers leading into this season here. And, well, it wasn't pretty. It definitely was not pretty there. So Brewers lose 13-8 to the Giants. They will have the Reds coming up today here. That will be a 2:05 start there for that one. Brewers, Reds. I'm going to take a wild shot in the dark and tell you that one will not be on TV. That one will not be on TV once again. Bryce Wilson will get the start for the Brewers. Williamson will get the start for the Reds in this one. So hopefully the Brewers get a big win over the Cincinnati Reds here. I know it's spring training, but I just want to see some wins, right? It's just spring. You can't go over the top about it, but I just want to see some good. I want to see some Brewers wins. Get me excited. Get something good going on for the Brewers heading into this regular season for the Brewers. Speaking of regular season, like we were talking about yesterday, not a lot good happening in the Brewers starting rotation right now, getting the news about Wade Miley. And, well, seeing a lot of guys get lit up. So what do the Brewers do here moving forward? Now, I talked yesterday. There's a lot of names out there yet in free agency. Michael Lorenzen, Mike Clevenger is still out there right now. I don't know if you float around the name Matthew Boyd or Brad Keller. Both of them did struggle last year, played for some bad teams in Detroit and Kansas City, but both did struggle last year. Just looking at some of the names that are still available out there, I'm not touching Noah Syndergaard. I'll be honest with you. Not a chance. Alec Mills, I believe you almost no-hit the Brewers once if he didn't no-hit the Brewers. Maybe you bring in a guy like Alec Mills. I did see Zach Davies is out there in free agency. I know a lot of people hate Zach Davies. I just had to bring him up. Zach Davies, when he left the Brewers, wasn't terrible. He wasn't great, not overpowering, but wasn't terrible. Eric Lauer is still out there right now. That's an interesting name. Jake Odorizzi, he's an interesting guy. I don't know, it's like a Zach Greinke. Both of them have some veteran experience, but I don't know if they bring to the club what you're looking for. I like the Michael Lorenzen idea, maybe a Julio Urias. I mean, former Dodger, not a bad pitcher by any means. Maybe the Brewers get him right in Milwaukee, currently sitting out there in free agency. Hung Jim Rui is a free agent, last pitched with the Toronto Blue Jays. Just throwing around a little bit of names there that I could see. I'm definitely targeting some of those guys if I'm the Brewers, looking for some veteran help there in this starting rotation here. Michael Lorenzen is a big name. 3.58 ERA last year with Detroit. He did have a 5.51 ERA with Philly last year. 5-7 though overall last season there with Detroit, and 4-2 with the Phillies. I mean, he could be a guy that fills in the starting rotation while also being a long relief guy in your bullpen. So I don't think that'd be a bad idea. Mike Clevenger, 9-9 last year, 3.77 ERA with the White Sox. That would be another guy who has a starter capability that, I mean, right now the Brewers just need veteran leadership in that starting rotation, guys to eat innings. Maybe a couple of these guys might be the answer for the Brewers. Definitely a lot of free agents out there yet for starting pitchers. So definitely would be looking in that direction if I was the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's about it. That's what I wanted to touch in with the Brewers today, just looking at some of the starting pitching options out there and kind of just floating the names around and seeing who may fit well in Milwaukee. I'm really leaning towards Michael Lorenzen or possibly a Mike Clevenger coming to the Brewers there. I love Zach Greinke coming back, but I don't know. Zach Greinke's best days are behind him, so I don't know if Zach Greinke would be great in Milwaukee, but I didn't think Wade Miley would be great bringing him back 14 times over again. But this guy continues to pitch well. Maybe you bring Zach Greinke and he starts to pitch well for the Brewers too. You never know. You never know, and you never know with the Brewers if they're going to make a move or not. So it could be interesting here, but I'm definitely, if I'm Milwaukee, looking out there in the free agent pool for starting pitchers, especially now where you don't know if Wade Miley is going to be ready to rock and roll, and you don't know with a lot of these rookies if they're going to be ready to jump into a starting role. So with that, before I move on here, I want to talk about a couple of our sponsors here. Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. If you've been injured lately, if you've been injured at work, on the field, wherever it was, stop in there at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood and get yourself the right care. Physical therapist there, Chad, will get you right, and he will get you back to work, back out on the field, whatever it is. One of the best around, Chad there in Greenwood at Sport and Spine Clinic. So check them out there in Greenwood, Wisconsin. But with that, I want to move on here. We've talked a lot about the Badgers. I want to look at some of the small things with this Badger team and kind of see what I'm thinking and, kind of see what some of you guys are thinking out there. If you guys want to shoot us a review or shoot a comment or a message or anything like that on our Facebook page or Instagram page or Twitter, wherever you want to reach us, Wisco Sports on the go there on all of our platforms. You can let us know what you're thinking about this Badger team. So right away, I just want to ask a simple question, and that is, has Gard really lost this team? The big talk a couple years ago, I believe it was that 2019 team, Brad Davison, Demetric Trice, Nate Reavers, all them guys there. It came into question if Gard lost that team, and there was leaked video or audio that basically let us to know Gard lost that team. So I look at this team and I say, okay, is it the same thing all over again here? Is Gard losing this basketball team in Madison once again? I got to be honest with you, I don't think so. This team, the effort's still there. Looking at that Illinois game, I can't say that the effort ever wavered. They were getting after it. There was moments in that game where there were lapses out on the court, but does that come back to coaching, or is that, the guys just don't care? I think they truthfully do care yet. I think they do. And it just makes it that much harder to say, okay, so he hasn't lost the team. So what then? I mean, is this team just that bad? Okay. I mean, if they're that bad, let's just say that. If this Badger team is that bad, did the Badgers waste 4 years with the likes of, let's just say, Tyler Wall and Chucky Hepburn and Stephen Crowell? Not 4 years. I shouldn't say 4 years. It wasn't 4 years with these guys quite yet. But it's been 2 to 3 years. So let's just say 2 to 3 years. Have we wasted 2 to 3 years where these guys who have been in the room, who were recruited into Madison, have yet to become the best basketball player I believe they possibly could be? Because that's what I'm seeing right now. So that comes back to player development on this team. Is the development of players in this system a problem? Because right now, you look at this Badger team. When I look at this Badger team, I say they have a lot of good players on this team. But the difference is that, say I look at a team like Alabama, they have a great player. Marcus Sears is a great player. You look at teams like, let's just look at Houston, one of the top team in the country right now. Cryer, Sheed, both great players. You look at Kansas. I mean, they aren't playing fantastic, but you have McCullers. You have Dickinson. Both those players could be qualified as great players. Purdue, you have Zach Edey, great player. I mean, I can go on and on. Duke, Flipikowski, you can go on and on with teams. But, I mean, looking at this Badger team, I look at them and I say, okay, yeah, you can have a lot of good players, but at some point you got to have a great player, right? You got to have a guy who can take a game over and you can get him the basketball and he can say, I'm going to go get you a bucket. AJ Storr was that guy. AJ Storr is no longer that guy for the Badgers. And I look at the likes of Chucky Hepburn. I thought Chucky Hepburn could develop into that guy, but yet he hasn't developed yet into being that lethal scorer. The guy that I can trust late in a game that 5 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times can get me a bucket down the stretch. Teams in college basketball have those guys. We don't. The Badgers don't. We have, if you count good players, I'll count good players with you, and you might not believe this, but Tyler Wall, good player. Chucky Hepburn, good player. AJ Storr, I believe is a good player. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's great yet. But is that a confidence issue with AJ Storr? He came to Madison. He was a different kind of animal. Now he's kind of dropped off. Is that a confidence thing? Did we take the confidence out of AJ Storr simply by not letting him play his game, the game that he wants to play, by making him relax into the offense? Did that take away his confidence? I don't know. But, I mean, so 3 good players there. Max Klesman, I believe, is a good player. Stephen Crowell, he's a toss-up. But I believe, end of the day, Stephen Crowell's a good player. I just wish the guy would play aggressive. A little bit of aggression to him. The interior defense for the Badgers, we're going to tap into it, but it's bad for this Wisconsin team. So, Stephen Crowell, I'll say decent player. John Blackwell coming off the bench is a good player. And I have believed since Connor Essegian came into this program that he's a good player. He's a good offensive player. His defense isn't phenomenal. He's not the greatest defender. But right now, the way the Badgers are playing, they're not looking for phenomenal defenders. They're allowing teams to score 70-plus points on them a game, some bad teams. Is Connor Essegian really the worst player in that situation? No, because I believe he's a good shooter. I believe if Connor Essegian got the minutes, he'd be a good shooter. In this new style offense that Wisconsin is trying to roll here, the one that Kirk Penny brought into this Badger team, I believe that Connor Essegian would be able to play well in this offense. Defensively, the Badgers, they have a lot of lapses this year. They struggle on the perimeter. You can't blame that on Connor Essegian because he's not out there. You have 2 good defenders in guard play in Chucky Hepburn and Max Klesman. Both of those guys are out there for a majority of the time, and they still are struggling on perimeter defense. I mean, so I put Connor Essegian in my good players. So you have 7 good players on this team, and yet we're not seeing anybody stand out. That's the thing, is that you got to have standout players throughout games, and nobody has stood out to me as of late here. You haven't had that big time performer. You've had a lot of even performances, and that's fine. You can win basketball games like that. But when push comes to shove, late in games, you need to have that guy. And if everybody's hesitating to be that guy for Wisconsin, you're never going to be able to win close matchups late in the game because you have to be able to find the guy that can score for you. And I think, if you want to blame something on guard, is lack of using the bench and using his best lineup in games. When Connor Essegian's in games earlier on this year where he scores 12 points for you or 15 points, let it ride. I mean, is he really killing you that much defensively that you can't let it ride with Connor? I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, yeah, I bet you if you look at the defensive metrics for this team, Connor Essegian does struggle, but I look at this team and I say they've struggled defensively as a whole unit. So Connor Essegian would not kill it any more than what the rest of this team has. So I really do say right now, the lack of a great player and anybody developing into anything close to a great player is a problem in Madison. So you look at the lack of depth that this Badger team has, development. We've talked about the bench play, but is Greg Gard not playing this bench because they're truthfully not that good and he doesn't believe that this bench could benefit him in any way? That has a lot to do with his recruiting process then. That has a lot to do with player development, and that has a ton to do with the transfer portal now. You went into the transfer portal last year and you came back with AJ Storr. Now, that wasn't like it was a bad ad. I'm not saying that AJ Storr wasn't a great ad for Wisconsin. What I'm saying is, okay, you're relying on interior defense of Steven Crowell, who has struggled. You didn't go into the transfer portal and find another big. You recruited a big man in Nolan Winter. You have a couple other big guys in Gus Yeldon, who you also recruited. We haven't seen Gus yet. And also Chris Hodges. You have another bigger guy on the bench there. But we don't see those guys. So was it a lack of getting out there and finding the right pieces? Everybody loves to say that Greg Gard's a good recruiter. Okay, yes, he's bringing in some good talent into Wisconsin, but none of these guys are developing into what they should be. And that's where my worry is with Wisconsin development. Can they ever get to that next step? These guys should be, at this point in their careers, Chucky Hepburn, Tyler Wall, Steven Crowell, Connor Essegian should be getting closer. Are these guys truthfully getting to the points where they should be? Is this Chucky Hepburn's best basketball? Because if that's the case, I mean, he was never as great as what I thought he was going to develop into. So that's kind of where I'm at development-wise for the Badgers, and why we aren't seeing some of this talents that the Badgers are getting or supposedly having develop to that next level of their game here in Madison. And if the Badgers, I mean, we got to hit it harder in the transfer portal going into next season. I know it's a ways off, but you got to find, unless if you believe in-house, you can fix the interior defensive problem for the Badgers, you have to go out and find somebody. If you believe Gus Yeldon and Nolan Winter can be the guys for Wisconsin, then it's fine. But you have to develop those guys into being the shot blockers, into being a defensive post menace, to being good on the offensive end there in the post. If you want that, if you can develop that, then you don't have to hit it so hard in the transfer portal. Other than that, I believe the Badgers need to go in the transfer portal and they need to bring in some talent. That Noah Reynolds that the Badgers lost out on there, the guard that ended up going to, I believe, Green Bay, I believe that is proving to be a big loss because right now, you look at the guard play for the Badgers. Yes, they have Klesman. Yes, they have the likes of Chucky Hepburn, usually Kamari McGee, and you have Connor Essegian there, guard, and also John Blackwell. But I believe you brought in Noah Reynolds. That's a great backup point guard who can score the basketball that could have came in behind Chucky Hepburn. And I believe played some big minutes. Could have played big minutes when Max Klesman is struggling. He could have played big minutes in those times. So the Badgers have to hit it hard in the transfer portal and find some talent elsewhere here. I know you can find it in the recruiting, but it's hard for the Badgers to recruit guys and immediately have them make an impact in the starting rotation simply because we don't get the all-star freshmen. We get the guys who need development and they need to develop over the years, get some size, whatever it is. This next year, they got to hit it hard in the transfer portal. I really think that is a big thing the Badgers have to look at. So, I mean, those are a few of the things I wanted to touch in with Wisconsin today. Basically, just developmental players inside the system and also where they have to look here moving forward. But right now, I don't believe the season's lost. I just believe there's a lot that's got to get fixed before I can say truthfully that they can put on a postseason run, that they can do anything here moving forward. So with that, I mean, we got into a lot today. We got into a lot of Badger talk, a lot of Brewer, a lot of Bucks. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.